having been in Maryland 16 and 17, when Coach Allen was a D coordinator 16 and the head coach at 17, just what Coach Allen has done here is incredible in itself. To go to an Outback Bowl and a Gator Bowl, he has done incredible things here. And then to have a chance to come work for an unbelievable man, an unbelievable human being like Coach Allen. Those two things, to work for a guy that's accomplished a lot of things that people didn't think you could do at the time, and to also have a chance to work for an unbelievable human being. Those two things are really what excites me about, being here, excited to be here, can't wait to get to work. And then after that, just any questions you guys have?
Dustin, start us off. Say your full name and where you're from, okay?
Dustin DePierac, Bloomington Herald Times. So what worked for you, as far as speaking with Coach Allen, just what worked for you guys philosophically in terms of what he was looking for in this position and what you bring, what you want to do offensively? How did you guys sort of discuss that, and where were sort of the similarities in terms of what you guys want to do?
I think the biggest thing was just, our first initial conversations were really just getting to know each other. And I think more than anything else, we've competed against each other in the past. We have some people that are really important, in his professional life and my professional life. There was some common crossover there. And so after the kind of get to know each other things, it was really just, me as an offensive coordinator, he as a head football coach, because ultimately, my job is to do exactly what, he wants done. And I think that's really important. And obviously, I've been in the role of head coach, been in the role of offensive coordinator, different places for different guys. But, number one, again, after the get to know each other thing, I think part of the reason, is just were we common in how we approach games. What's important to him outside of the white lines was that important to me. And I think once we kind of figured that out, then really the X and O piece, kind of that takes care of itself. As long as you're surrounding yourself with good people, and again, just piggybacking off the opening statement, he is a world-class man about all the right things. And so, hopefully I can, help score points, and help do the job, and do it in a way that satisfies him in the way that he wants the program run.
Matt and Sammy.
I'm Coach Matt Weaver from Indiana 247 Sports. When you were in Maryland, you had more of a, Tyrell, more of a dual threat guy. You guys ran the ball pretty well, then go to Florida State, and I think you were second or so.
Yeah, didn't call playing Florida State.
Oh, okay. But passing the ball. As far as quarterback, do you have a preference? Do you prefer the dual threat, or does it matter, or kind of how do you want your quarterback to play?
Yeah, to me, it's all about winnable tools. When I got to Arkansas State in 14, we inherited a guy at the time that was a little bit more of a dual threat run around guy. But to me, it's about winnable tools, and it's kind of a sliding scale. It's the greater distributor that he is, the little bit less of an athlete that he has to be. And there's, if he's not going to be a great distributor, he's going to have to be a really dynamic athlete. But again, it's about winnable tools and what can you win with. Ideally, which is probably the question that you're trying to get to. Ideally, you want somebody that is a top line distributor, but somebody also that extend plays, win with his feet, run situationally when called upon to help the football team, whether it be third downs, red zone, score zone, because we are in a league where if you run these guys a lot, there's a really physical league. And so, whether it be a guy like Austin Davis who played for us at Southern Miss, who's a great distributor, but could take care of himself. Mr. Trubisky's a great example. But I've never been fortunate enough to be somewhere where you get to pick that guy. But again, just what are their winnable tools, and what can we do as an offense to make sure we're asking that young man to do what he does well, and not putting him in a position to do things that he's not very good at. So, but again, it's a little bit of a sliding scale. But ultimately, you want a great distributor, somebody that can extend plays, win a couple third downs with his feet, and run situational.
Sammy the Pete.
Good morning, Coach. Sammy Jacobs from HoosierHuddle.com. I don't know how much film you've watched from last season, but the offense really struggled on the offensive line. What schemes and tools can you bring to help improve that play? Are you looking at all personnel, all personnel on the team, and you have a coaching staff as well who's bringing back some offensive coaches? Are you evaluating them as well on that?
Yeah, I think first and foremost, I got here Monday afternoon. Was here for probably less than 24 hours and on the road and recruiting. What I've seen of our offensive personnel has been on TV, and I've watched a little bit of game tape yesterday, just kind of in between things that we have to do through the recruiting weekend. So I would be lying if I told you I had a great feel for offensive personnel. I know we play a lot of quarterbacks. I know that we've got some receivers that are gone. I know we feel pretty good about our tight room. I kind of know of them, but I would be lying if I said I had an unbelievable grasp of where guys are going to fit, how we're going to help them improve. I don't have a great grasp of that right now, but we will. And obviously we get through this recruiting weekend, which we're still a part of, and then Monday and Tuesday as we go into Wednesday signing day, when we're not recruiting, that's probably what I'll start diving into.
Pete and Mike.
Hey, Walt, over here. Pete DePrino, IU Athletics. Two-part question. One, maybe talking a little bit about your overall offensive philosophy in terms of how you approach, how you attack defenses, and then how much will the up-tempo approach be played?
Well, I think, so the first part of your question was, say it one more time.
Or your offensive, how do you like to attack defenses?
Yeah, I think offense philosophy, number one, no matter what level of football that you're in, whether it be middle school football, high school football, college football, or NFL football, you've got to be able to effectively run football. How you get that done, I think, is some quarterback driven, some systematically driven, and honestly, your offensive line and personnel and how you can win. Where are your better players? How can you create matchups? Where can you win the defense? So number one is you've got to be able to effectively run the football. And then number two, you've got to create, no matter who your quarterback is, what your skill is, somehow, some way, you've got to create a quick, efficient, well-protected pass game that can manufacture explosives. And so between those two things, just overall from a philosophy standpoint, I think those are the things that have to be done to have any positive impact on the offense whatsoever. And the second question, in terms of pace and tempo, again, that's been a part, different things for different places, and that thing, more than anything else, that to me is a reflection of what Coach Allen wants, and what he wants this program ultimately to look like, and that could be a week-to-week thing, that could be an all-time thing, and so, I'm kind of going to defer to Coach Allen on that. Obviously, we've had some very in-detail conversations about what he wants this to look like, but at the same time, I'd like to keep as much as close to the best as humanly possible as long as possible. So sorry for dancing around your question, but that's the truth.
Mike and then Ken.
Hey, Coach, Mike Schumann with the Daily Hoosier. At some of your other stops where you've taken over as OC, Arkansas State, Maryland, Florida State, what have been some of the biggest challenges to kind of get your system up and running as fast as you want it to happen?
Yeah, I think, anytime that you're a new coordinator, getting to know your offensive personnel and what skills they have, I think that's really the first learning curve that you have. I think the advantage that I've been blessed with here is that there's so much holdover on the offensive staff. It was an entire new staff at Arkansas State where you're truly figuring out through spring football and into fall camp, and sometimes through the first couple games of the year, like who you really are and what can they do. And so I think I've got a little bit of an advantage here, just knowing that our staff already has built-in relationships. They know what makes our guys go. They know how to challenge our players, and also they know what they can and can't do when it really comes down to it. So I think I've got a little bit of advantage there. But number one, getting to know your players. I think number two is the very obvious new terminology, learning new things, learning a new way to look at football. Everybody in the world runs four verticals. Everybody runs lacrosse. Everybody runs inside zone and outside zone, power and counter, and that's at all levels of football. We're all doing the same things, but just what's your spin? How do you look at it? How quickly can you get the kids to see the game the way that you see it? And more importantly, how quickly can you get them to believe the game and trust the way that you believe and trust, in your past successes? And so, to me, it's more about relationship building. It's about belief. It's about the kids trusting in the fact that we're putting them in a position. The more that they understand that we're going to do that, we're there for them, the quicker that they're going to be willing to accept, and play hard, and kind of take that thing to the So to me, it's about relationship building more than anything else, because the X's and O's, the X's and O's. You know, they've had good offensive coaches here, you know, and they've all played good football before, you know, and so to me, it's how quickly can we build relationships and get these young men in a place where they believe in us and what we're doing and have confidence in what we're doing.
Ken and Haley?
Indiana247sports.com, Ken Bykoff. What did you learn in your experience as a head coach? What kind of lessons did you learn that is going to help you be a better offensive coordinator?
Well, I think, you know, the way I was raised, you know, by my father was, you know, in order to be a really good leader, first you have to be really good at being led. You know, and I am really excited to do anything and everything in my power to be the best possible assistant coach and offensive coordinator I can be, because I understand, having been in that chair, how important that is to coach out. So I'm incredibly excited, you know, to go complete a task for Coach Allen. You know, the task is to be better on offense. You know, and so I'm incredibly excited to do that. And a lot of that has to do with when you're in that chair, you know, how much you need that from your assistants. And I had a great staff from Massachusetts, you know, and guys that were unbelievable. And so, you know, my job is to come do that for him in the best way I possibly can, as he wants it done, culturally, schematically, you know, and so I'm just incredibly excited to go to work for a great man, and hopefully I can accomplish the mission.
Haley, then Luke?
Hi, Coach. Haley Jordan, Sports Illustrated. So we had a nice little quarterback shuffle here last season, as you know. Well, I looked at your resume, and it looks like you had that at Maryland in 2017. So did you talk to Coach Allen about how you're super used to rolling with the punches? I mean, most coaches, most offensive coordinators work with one quarterback. You know, you've worked with a few. So did you guys talk about that when you were hired?
Yes, and that is not a fun thing to go through. At Arkansas State in 14, we were really fortunate that our starter played in all 12 games. In 2015, we won the Sun Belt Championship. Freddie Knight and our starter missed 4 games, so we had to play 2 quarterbacks that year. I go to Maryland in 16. We have to play Perry Hills, Caleb Rowe, Tyrell Pegram, and Max Bordenschlager, so 2 seniors and 2 true freshmen. In 17, we score 50 at Texas, lose the starter. 2 weeks later, lose the freshman backup. 2 weeks later, against Ohio State, lose the Max Bordenschlager. So I have unfortunately, you know, had some bad luck from a health standpoint. None of them just from running the guy or big collisions. We had some non-contact stuff. So yes, I think having been through those experiences makes you a little bit more adaptable. Makes you a little bit more system conscious from a standpoint of, you know, diversifying that quarterback room and making sure that no matter what their skills are, that there's a piece of the system that they can go execute at a high level to give yourself a chance on Saturday. So, and honestly, I think that probably had a little bit to do with Coach Allen hiring me. Is, you know, in 16 we had to play a couple quarterbacks. We came up here and, you know, lost a high scoring game, and in 17 with our 3rd string quarterback, you know, we were able to win a game. You know, and so that probably had a little bit to do with the mutual respect there. I've unfortunately been there and done that, you know, and so it's not a fun thing to go through, but it's a part of our profession, you know, and typically we're in those situations. No one cares about your problems, and most are glad that you have them. So, you know, you got to find a way to go be successful and get the team a chance to win.
Luke?
Coming into this job, I mean, Tom Allen has an established culture. I mean, LEO, it's on the marching band uniforms, it's on the football uniforms, it's around the stadium. How important is culture to you just as a coach?
I think there's 2 parts to that. You know, I mean, again, we've piggybacking kind of off what I said earlier, like the X's and O's are a dime a dozen. You know, everybody in the world runs inside the zone, everybody runs 4 verticals, and, you know, people outside of the building of football or outside of the coaching circles, you know, make a huge deal about X's and O's, but like, we're all kind of doing the same things. But the culture piece is what allows the way you run inside zone work better than the way somebody else runs inside zone. It's what allows you to complete 4 verticals at a higher rate than somebody else. You know, and so to me, to come to a place where, number one, there is an established culture, not only of how Coach Allen wants to live, wants to treat players, wants to communicate with players, how he wants to develop them as human beings, men, you know, the life after football piece, so not only coming in somewhere where there is an established culture, but for me as an assistant coach, coming into a place where it's absolutely, unequivocally, like, exactly how I believe, you know, and that to me was one of the biggest reasons why I was so excited to take the job, you know, because I feel, you know, that God put me on this planet to help people be better people, you know, and to have a chance to work with a guy like Coach Allen, you know, and it may be a different way to say it, in a different way, but I'm just so excited to come to a place and work for a man that truly believes in what I believe is what this game is all about and what college football is all about. And so I'm excited to be a part of it. You know, I'm excited to learn it, and you know, I feel like I'm in the right place at the right time with the right guy.
Dustin Messman.
No, Ken asked you about this already, but I imagine just since you were let go, you and Ashley probably had some time to sit there and consider what went right and what went wrong. How have you answered those questions in your own mindset? What have you looked at?
You know, a couple things. I mean, honestly, you know, I'm much more concerned about the task at hand.
Of course.
You know, number two is we got there 19 and got hired pretty late, you know, in that first recruiting class. You know, we're into the pandemic. We signed a great class in 2020. We get to play, you know, 4 games and that class doesn't necessarily get a chance to develop. And then we play, you know, 5 bowl teams really early in the season and had a lot of injuries, you know, which is something that you guys went through here. And so, I wish the transfer portal rule would have opened up a year earlier than it did. And some of the guys that we signed in the portal were really able to help alter our roster. But we were too young. You know, we had, I think, of our 72 on scholarship. When we got there at 52 this year going into the season, we had 72, and 61 of those were freshmen, redshirt freshmen. So we were really young, you know, kind of on the, you know, still in the building phase, knowing that from a number standpoint, APR standpoint, we're really behind we went there. But I think the biggest thing is, you know, if I was ever lucky enough to be able to be in that position, I'm glad to be here, to be really honest with you. To be in the Big Ten in a great league with a great man, you know, but just making sure from a roster standpoint you're giving yourself your best chance, you know, and you know, because we were really trying to build that thing from the ground level, and obviously you don't necessarily have a lot of time to do that nowadays. And so being aggressive with roster management, you know, obviously with the new transfer portal rule probably happened a year too late for us. But I had a wonderful time there. There were great people there. I had a great staff. We had wonderful players. You know, we had one of the worst APRs in the country. We got there, got the academic piece fixed. You know, but just obviously we all understand this is a bottom line business. You know, and, you know, we did not win enough games to stay there. And, but I had a great experience there. Great people. Administration was great. So that's really it. I'm just excited to be here and go to work.
All right, thanks, Walt.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.